Good morning. Happy Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Wow, time is flying, Tom. It seems like just yesterday it was June 2nd. It was Tuesday, although earlier we had to talk about what day it was. This is probably that place where you're waiting for me to say that we're going to solve all the world's problems for you in the next 15 minutes. Not going to happen. We don't do that. We don't solve all your problems. Our goal here as renegades, and we take that word really seriously, as renegades, we want to help you figure out that one next step, that important next step that you can take today so that tomorrow you can take another step, Friday another step, and before you know it, you start adding these steps together and you've walked a long path towards whatever you're trying to achieve. What's the matter, Tom? You look like something's going wrong there.
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. No, I thought we had a problem. So that's Tom Brush. As it says, I'm Bob Graham. This is today's Antidote. And this week's topic has been innovation. And we're going to talk about some of the pitfalls of innovation. And I'm going to start with the big one, Tom, which is most of the people I talk to think of innovation as big picture stuff, huge stuff. But I know this guy, and tell me if this is innovative. I know this guy who worked in a career for, 25, almost 30 years. Career came to a close, and he had some really serious skills. And he decided to pivot his whole career in a new direction where he would take what he knew and start sharing with other organizations because they needed those skills. They didn't have them on staff. They didn't have expertise. And he started to find these organizations and really help them just grow with the things that they probably could have figured out, could have known, but he knew it and he could shortchange that. So he could go in there and in a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, boom, they are completely running at a higher level than they ever imagined, doing innovative things. Do you know that guy, Tom?
Is that you, Bob?
No, it's you.
Me? Oh,
it's you.
Interesting.
It's you.
Thanks.
And I think that's innovation. I think reinventing yourself, leveraging what you know in a new way to help organizations. I was thinking last night of the people around me that are the most innovative. And, I'm trying to think of this person who discovered something, who changed the world. You changed the world because you work with all kinds of nonprofits and you're helping them become more effective, more efficient in achieving what they need to achieve. And in this day and age, efficiency is the name of the game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that we all have the opportunity to find some way to pivot and be innovative in what we do, whether you're, again, like you said, whether it's huge or whether it's small. People could wake up today and be like, if I just did this a little bit differently, because they were looking for something different, something more effective or more efficient. In reality, that's innovation. I mean, there are things that make a huge difference just because you want to achieve something and you say, I think there's got to be a better way or a different way.
Right. And so I think we have this fallacy of the way the world runs right now that we've got to be Zuckerberg or, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. But all of us are innovating because all of us face new challenges every day. And we don't often think about it that way. And that was the thing that really struck me over the last 24 hours. It's like, geez, I'm thinking of innovation. It's got to be this huge thing, like a life-defining achievement. But what if it's a whole bunch of smaller achievements that add up to something new, something different, something special? And by that metric, a lot of us are achieving real innovation every day.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things about it is it's not always easy. There are definitely some challenges that go along with innovation and trying to be innovative and thinking about because we can think about how to do it differently. And sometimes we think we have the right idea, and yet that innovation is complete failure. It just doesn't work the way we thought. And I think that's one of the, I guess, with almost anything you try to do differently, you run the risk of some challenges and something's not going right. We had a listener yesterday, John, mentioned, as we were talking about innovation, new Coke, and Coke's brilliant idea to try and change Coke to something completely different. And I think what they realized that in that case, that was not good innovation. They just didn't make the right decisions, whether they weren't listening to their customers. There was some challenge that they had that they just didn't have the foresight for, or they took a calculated risk and they moved forward and it just didn't work out, which happens.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I've certainly, I don't know if I told this story before, but years ago, this is like 7 or 8 years ago, I worked with a guy, Tim Nebergall, who's in the group. And
good morning.
we were working on an idea of doing websites at this point that were really inexpensive. And we were able to figure out a way that we could get your small business website for $200. Like soup to nuts, and we made a little profit. Didn't work. Couldn't get anyone to bite. Tried it at 400, nothing. 600. It wasn't until $7.99 that we started to make some money. And it never took off the way it could have. And at that point, like 60% of small businesses didn't have websites. I think what I learned, much like probably New Coke learned, was you have to be incremental. If we go back to the SpaceX thing over the weekend, that was the culmination of a whole bunch of little steps to get to a big step. And I think that's the thing that I've got to constantly remind myself. In fact, Tom, I have to remind myself with stuff we're doing every day that we've made progress. This is progress. Today's progress. Tomorrow's progress. I want the home runs. I do not like singles. I don't like bunts. I don't like any of that stuff. I want the big ticket thing that I can hang my hat on and say, yes, checkbox, move on. And that's hard to do. And that's why, you said yesterday, I like to shine, or I like to chase bright, shiny objects. I do, because bright, shiny objects are big successes. And I am wired to want that big success. And it's been one of the things that I think has slowed me down in my life is I'm always looking for that big thing. When it doesn't come quickly, I move to the next big thing. And
yeah, I think one of the challenges is that when we see those big things, we see the results. We don't see all the behind the scenes stuff that went into getting to that point. You watch somebody on the news or on the internet talk about, all the money they made, or this great program that they ran, or this, this product that they've sold. And while that's probably true, and they are seeing the results of that innovation now, the challenges and frustrations and hard work that went into getting there is the piece you never see, because nobody talks about that. They just are like, yeah, this is my product. This is great. Now I'm going to go out and it's going to go nuts. And you don't see the years and years of challenges and struggles to get to that point. Like, it would be interesting to know, because maybe you know this, when Elon Musk got that agreement with NASA to start that project.
I believe it's been 3-4 years.
Yeah, that actually is not, I think that's pretty good. I would have thought that it would have taken years and years to get from like, okay, we're doing this right, we're doing that right. Oh, no, that didn't work. Now we got to restart all over again and figure out the next step.
Well, I think they had to do things to get to the agreement phase.
Right.
That right. NASA wasn't even going to let a private company do this. And it's his Elon Musk's company as well as Boeing. They're both doing it because NASA was pretty much pitting them against each other.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in with some comments, Tom, because I figured out how to see them today. Someone said shortening the learning curve. I don't know who. All I see is Facebook users. So if you can help me know who it is, that'd be great, Tom.
Absolutely.
Another comment, incremental progress is in and of itself innovative. You can't continue to progress without some form of innovative process. And I think that is a really good way of looking at it. Process leads to progress. Save that, Tom. We could use that.
It's from our friend Tim.
Okay. And Tim gave me the name. I could not remember the name of our website endeavor. Good old easy business website builders. Easy should have been. I'm not even gonna go there. Good times. Tim says, I know that's Tim. There's no struggle. Work is easy. Someone said, and then New Coke wasn't an innovation. It was a brand betrayal. They told us Coke was it. Coca-Cola was the real thing. Then overnight it wasn't, which is great feedback. And then Elon is decades ahead of Boeing.
I'm going to interrupt you a second. Who do you think mentioned the comment about New Coke?
Neil?
No. Think about who in our group would talk about brand and story.
Jessica. This is a bad game for me to play.
Peter.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I set you up to fail there.
I was going to say, that's not fair, Tom. We're going to have to talk about your high school years again. I'll get even.
No, we're not going there.
No, you're right. Now that I see Peter's hands written all over that. I'm struggling, Tom, because what I see is a list of the comments with just Facebook users. So it's a long story. I've got to figure this out. It's driving me crazy. But on the bright side, we haven't had any technology issues this morning for me yet. I know, 11 minutes in. I don't know what I did. I reset the Wi-Fi right before we started.
Well, you know what? We're trying innovation, and today's one of the days the pitfalls didn't happen. Good.
And that could be an innovation. Think about it. I'm looking for this big thing. I've talked to Comcast and Xfinity. I've talked to John Wilhelm a couple of times. I've done all kinds of things to my computer. And what if the simple innovation is to just unplug the router, leave it 2 minutes, and replug it back in? And that is the solution. And if that gets us the result I need, which is no more spinning Bob, then I would argue that's an innovation. Someone says my stream looks clearer too. There's so many comments to that one. I'm not even going to go there.
Correct.
That's not from one of my doctors, right, Tom?
It's not from one of your doctors. No.
Okay, good. Look like you're turning red.
I'm not quite sure how to respond to that.
I know.
Doesn't happen very often.
See, that's it. I got even with you, though. I told you I would. So, I think the message we're trying to communicate here is that as renegades, and I want to go back to that because I think it's incumbent upon a renegade to be focused on the incremental innovations. That's the key. It's not the big innovations. They will come. But I see someone saying I need help. So much help, but not with my stream, apparently. So that's Correct. A good thing. See, saw it coming. But I think innovation is steps and constantly taking steps and also taking steps that slowly move you into new territory. If you think about going into the woods and not knowing your path, you got to choose a direction. You will not get out of the woods unless you start walking in some direction. You might go towards the sun. You might go away from the sun. You might just follow the water. Whatever you do, you've got to get on the path. And if you don't go forward, you can't figure out where you've been. And maybe you go 10 steps forward and go, oh, there's a cliff there. And you turn around and you go back the other way. That's how you make the discoveries. And I like to think of that in my head, that every time I take a step, I'm discovering more. I'm finding my way. And that's really critical.
Yeah, because we take a step away from something that's comfortable, right? If you're standing in place in the woods, I mean, some part of it might not be comfortable, but you know where you're at. You know what your immediate surroundings are. You're comfortable. Once you start taking steps, you start venturing into the new unknown, and you have to figure out, is this the right direction or not? And I think those that are willing to continue to take those steps to say, I'm not happy with where I am at the moment. How do I think that there is a different, better, another way. How do I take those steps to try to get closer and closer to, what ultimately is, could become a new innovation because you had the capacity and the courage and the interest to take a step, to go towards understanding that there's a different way. There's another way to do this that might be more effective, more efficient, might be more beneficial. Once we step out of it and try to find it, we're going to have a better chance to identify it than if we're standing still.
I see a quote here from someone, one of my favorites. This person says, there's no comfort in the growth zone and no growth in the comfort zone. And Tom, I'm going to be real honest with you. I just forgot to plug in my battery on my laptop. I have 9% of my power left, and between the computer and the lights, I've got about 4 minutes. So we better wrap this puppy up today, or else you'll be doing it alone, and who knows what could happen then.
Yeah, that could be scary.
That could be scary. So what's your one thing today?
I think my one thing is understand that there will be pitfalls. Anyone who's going towards innovation, there's going to be pitfalls. You're going to make mistakes. And I think that's us as humans. We are going to make mistakes. And so understanding that and being able to continue to move forward, I think, is how innovation happens, how we come up with new solutions.
I think to me, it's embrace the discovery from the mistakes, because that's where the discovery comes from. That situation where Tim and I were working on the Easy Business website builders, I learned a lot about pricing from that. I learned a lot about customers. I learned a lot about figuring out what people need before you build something, and not to build what you think works, but to build what they need. And I've read that, I've been in classes, I've taught that, but that was the real example to me, like, oh yeah, you know what? I thought they needed this, but maybe I was wrong.
Turns out they didn't.
Exactly. And that was a real great discovery. And these things, you can read all the books in the world, you can take all the college classes, you can ask all the experts. Doing it yourself and experiencing yourself is so critical. So Tom, I'm going to break with tradition. I'm not going to pitch anything today. I'm just going to say this has been a great episode. Enjoyed the discussion. Appreciate all the comments from everyone. We'll be back tomorrow. And I want to close now, Tom, before I have a technology problem.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day, and we will see you again tomorrow.